We are ranking 8 Irish whiskies you need to know about, 5 you should absolutely avoid, and 3 hidden gems worth tracking down. From bottles that are all hype and no flavor, to expressions that quietly outperform the big brands, this countdown exposes which whiskeys turn smoothness into blandness and which ones pack true Irish character and value. Let's kick off the list with number 8. Tullamore DEW Cider Cask. Finish promises something fresh. Irish whiskey finished in apple cider casks. It sounds clever, but the reality is all marketing and barely any apple. Blind tasting panels struggled to find any real cider character. Most described it as thin, flat, and watery, with only the faintest hint of green apple that disappears in seconds. At a street price of $25 to $30, it costs the same as the original Tullamore DEW, but it trades away fruit and spice for a novelty finish that just dilutes the flavor. If you are hoping for a bold new twist, you will end up with a weak pour that leaves your palate bored. In the world of Irish whiskey, smooth should not mean forgettable. 2. Ginger's was never meant to impress neat. Priced around $20, it was engineered to disappear under a mountain of ginger ale, and it shows. Sipped straight, there is a flash of grain, a faint metallic twang, and then nothing. The finish vanishes almost instantly, leaving you wondering if you even had a sip at all. Tasting panels struggled to score its finish, with most giving it a near 0. The label might promise smoothness, but what you actually get is something closer to whiskey-flavored water. If you are looking for character, or even a hint of real Irish texture, this bottle will leave you disappointed. For the same money, there are blends that actually taste like whiskey. Here, smooth just means weak. Clontarf 1014 sits at the absolute bottom of the Irish whiskey shelf, and the price tag is the only thing lighter than the flavor. For under $20, you get a bottle that promises history, but delivers a mouthful of regret. Tasting panels called it out for a harsh, ashy bitterness, like licking a charcoal briquette that someone tried to sweeten with corn syrup. 8 out of 10 tasters flagged the finish as not just short, but actively unpleasant. Complexity barely cracks a 2 out of 10, and the thin, tired character comes straight from minimal aging in worn-out casks. Saving a couple of dollars here means signing up for a whiskey that burns going down, and leaves a bitter aftertaste that hangs around far longer than the flavor ever did. Life is too short to save $2 and drink something this rough. The Quiet Man. Traditional blend looks like it belongs on a top shelf, with its sleek bottle and golden script promising something special. But behind the fancy branding sits a whiskey that rarely delivers on the promise. Priced $10 to $15 above other standard blends, it's easy to assume you're getting a premium pour. Instead, panel after panel described it as light, grassy, and almost ghostly on the palate, flavors that barely register before fading away. Complexity scores hovered at a meager 3 out of 10, with most tasters agreeing the finish is as fleeting as the aroma. In a blind test, it struggled to stand out from bottles half its price. The real sting comes at checkout. You are paying extra for a label and a story, not for any real boost in quality. This is the classic case of a branding tax. More money, less flavor, and a bottle that's easy to forget. Proper number 12 exploded onto shelves in 2018, riding a tidal wave of celebrity hype and green and gold branding. Conor McGregor's name moved millions of cases, making it the best-selling Irish whiskey launch in decades. But behind the flash, the liquid tells a different story. This is a no-age statement blend, bottled at the legal minimum of 40% alcohol by volume, and rushed to market with barely enough time and wood to take the edge off. Blind tasting panels flagged it for astringent heat and a metallic bite, notes you would expect from whiskey that is barely old enough to vote. Those creamy vanilla and honey flavors that define classic Irish whiskey are nowhere to be found. Instead, you get a raw, grainy spirit that burns going down and leaves your palate begging for relief. Value for money scores bottomed out at 2 out of 10, with most tasters agreeing it is all marketing and no craftsmanship. If you want to taste what happens when branding wins and whiskey loses, this is your bottle. Otherwise, keep moving. There is better Irish whiskey just an arm's reach away. The Sexton single malt rarely gets a second glance on the shelf, but it is quietly redefining what $30 can buy in Irish whiskey. Crafted from 100% malted barley and aged entirely in Oloroso sherry casks, this bottle packs the kind of flavor that usually comes with a much higher price tag. Tasting panels scored it an impressive 8 out of 10 for complexity, with rich waves of dried fruit, toasted nuts, and a deep chocolate note that lingers on the finish. The texture is noticeably fuller than any blend in its price range, with no trace of the thin, watery mouthfeel that drags down so many entry-level bottles. At 40% alcohol by volume and bottled with natural color, the Sexton delivers real depth without artificial tricks. The hexagonal bottle might look like a movie prop, but inside the whiskey over-delivers on every front. Value for money scores hit 9 out of 10, making this the budget sherry cask single malt that whiskey fans have been searching for. For anyone ready to leave behind the world of bland celebrity blends, the Sexton is where the real adventure starts. Power's gold label sits quietly on the shelf, overshadowed by flashier bottles, but it's the blend bartenders reach for when they want real Irish character in a glass. Made at Middleton, the same distillery behind Redbreast and Greenspot, Powers leans heavily on pot still whiskey, a style unique to Ireland that mixes malted and unmalted barley and is triple distilled in copper pots. That higher pot still percentage is the secret behind its signature texture, thick, almost oily, with a mouth-coating feel that lingers long after each sip. While most blends chase smoothness by stripping away flavor and body, Powers delivers a spicy kick of white pepper balanced by honey and cereal notes. Tasting panels consistently rate its texture at 8 out of 10, with complexity close behind at 7. The finish is long and warming, never harsh or thin. At around $25 a bottle, it offers more depth and satisfaction than blends twice its price. For bartenders in Dublin and New York, this is the unspoken standard, the bottle they pour for themselves after hours. If you're looking for a whiskey that proves Irish can be bold, spicy, and full of life, Powers Gold Label is the everyday gem hiding in plain sight. Dunville's 12-year PX cask stands apart as a bottle with real history and remarkable depth. The original Dunville's distillery opened in Belfast in 1822, but after decades of decline and a final closure in 1936, the name faded into whiskey legend. Nearly 80 years later, Ecklinville Distillery revived Dunville's with a commitment to the old recipes and a bold approach to cask finishing. Their 12-year release spends its final months in Pedro Jimenez sherry casks, imported from Spain. PX casks are prized for their ability to infuse the whiskey with layers of dark fruit, raisin, and fig. Those flavors transform the spirit into something close to liquid dessert. Blind tasting panels consistently rank Dunville's 12-year PX among the most complex Irish whiskies available, giving it a 9 out of 10 for both complexity and finish. The texture is lush and mouth-coating, with waves of Christmas cake, toffee, and sweet oak that linger long after the sip. At $60 to $70 a bottle, it is not cheap, but it delivers a level of richness that rivals Redbreast 12, often beating it in head-to-head tastings for those who crave a sweeter, more decadent profile. This is the bottle that proves Irish whiskey can reach world-class heights, combining heritage and innovation in every pour. For anyone looking to experience the full dessert-like depth and sophistication of sherry-finished Irish whiskey, Dunville's 12-year PX cask is the top pick. Across all 8 bottles, one pattern stands out. The real magic of Irish whiskey is not found in flashy labels or mass-market blends, but in overlooked distilleries quietly perfecting their craft. The next great pour is not always the most popular. It is the one daring to go deeper. Cheers to tasting beyond the obvious.